This is the Vision 79 podcast, where my friend Sander and myself, Mason, discuss recent developments in our business and personal growth. The name Vision 79 comes from our respective racing numbers. Sander's is 40, mine is 39, and we have a shared vision for success in business and our personal lives. Many successful people have started small, just like us, but very few of them have documented their early years. They often say they wish that they had, and given we believe in learning lessons from others, we intend to be the first to document our journey from start to finish. Today, we're taking an opportunity to summarize the work and revelations we've had over the winter holidays. It's January 11th today. We've both had 2 weeks off from our 9-to-5 jobs, roughly 4 weeks, I think, between podcasting, and it's our first podcast of 2025. That's what I have for the intro. What are your New Year's resolutions?
I didn't make any.
Why?
Because all the work that I've been wanting to do and am going to do, I do consistently throughout the year. I don't use like the new year as an excuse to finally start on the things that I should be doing anyway.
Yep. Great.
I mean, I did do stuff that's special for the first, but I didn't like make any resolution.
Grace and I had a lot of people ask us like coming up to and then just past the first, they were like, what are your New Year's resolutions? Like, I remember someone asked us, I think on December like 28th or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And Grace was like, why would I wait a week to do it when I could do it now? And the person was like, oh, well, you know, it's fun. One of my coworkers is fat. And I say fat, not overweight, because
they're healthy.
She's in denial about it. Huh?
They're a healthy girl.
Yeah, it's body positive to lie to yourself. Whatever. She's big. But she was like,
a lot of body to be positive about.
There is. Well, and the reason I'm critical of this is because last year she was like, my New Year's resolution is to eat healthier. And I was like, awesome. There's lots of room for improvement. Unironically, she shows up every morning with a big I think it's a Diet Coke from Chick-fil-A and a Chick-fil-A breakfast, and then also for lunch. And I was like, awesome. It's so easy to improve. Just cook. She loves to cook. I was like, just cook like healthier meals. Don't get Chick-fil-A every morning. And do a little bit of exercise. At her weight, I don't think I would recommend like strenuous exercise because she's just so large. But like, you know, do some walking, right?
Yeah.
A good start. And she didn't do it the entire year. She's exactly the same today as she was last year, if not even a little bigger, right? And so this year she's like, oh, that gym, there's a gym opening up by Nocturne called Wolf Fitness. And it's Dave Bautista's gym. And she was like, I'm really excited to get started there. And I was like, awesome, I support you. What's interesting.
That's this year?
Yeah, this was like a week ago. And she was like, I'm really excited because it's a very like weightlifting centric gym. It's like a powerlifting focused gym. And I was like, that's just a gym. And she was like, well, no, like they have fancy, like really nice machines. And I was like, okay, I mean, I can understand. I like nicer machines in the gym, so I get it. And she was like, yeah, I'm excited because these machines have like a full range of motion on them, like past what normal machines can do, so I can actually use them. Not like these other gyms where I can't use their machines. And I bit my tongue because I'm an employee there. But if you're so big that you need specialty machines to fit your range of motion, you shouldn't be on a machine.
I honestly don't think she even has a normal range of motion.
She doesn't.
Why would she? No. Why would she extend the motion on normal range machines when both you or I, as fit guys, can use those machines just fine? Like it's not going to hurt you to use a regular machine.
Yeah, I don't think she can fit in the regular machines. I think she needs modified ones that can move, like give resistance where a regular machine wouldn't, so that she can actually use it. But
we have a double XL rower.
Dude, exactly. I was like, it's a double wide seat. Like, what are we talking about here? And so I was like, all right. And she was like, yeah, these other gyms, they just don't have it. And I was like, I mean, you must recognize that, like, gyms are for weightlifting. Like, you lift weight at gyms. You can also do cardio at most gyms, but you don't need a specific gym to do that.
I didn't realize they had special dumbbells and special treadmills for
fat people,
for more extension.
Well, they don't. And like my fucking the chest press machine, right? Like you can modulate it in one additional axis to get like the perfect stretch for your body, which is valid. And a lot of like nitpicky lifters like that stuff. But dude, if you just need to get 150 pounds off of you so that you can get up a flight of stairs without running out of breath, start small. Like, yeah, start with walking. And I'm hoping that she sticks with it, right? But she hasn't started yet. It's $60 a month to go to this gym. I'm not paying that shit.
Wow.
You know, like that's so much money. That's crazy. But yeah, I'm hoping that she sticks with it, but I think I bring it up because it's a perfect case example of someone making a New Year's resolution and then fully falling on its face. It's like you need an excuse to wait an additional week to do something, and then once you actually get there, you just blow it off entirely, you know?
Yeah.
I think it's becoming more popular for people to kind of like cast off New Year's resolutions.
Yeah, I didn't make any. I mean, I think that if you see things in your life that you should change, you should just go ahead and change them.
Yeah.
There's no point in waiting.
Yeah, if you're fat, go to the gym now. Don't wait for something special.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that's also a good example of someone who's like needs the perfect conditions to start at ground zero. You know, she just needs like this perfect little space, and like everything needs, the stars need to be perfectly aligned for me to go hit the treadmill or whatever. You know.
Yeah. And what's crazy is like you don't even need a gym to work out. So it's like you're picking a gym in the first place is an excuse in itself because you can go run with no gym.
Right.
Know? So
100%.
anyways,
You want to start with what do you have in terms of updates? Is yours like general or broken down by day?
I've got all kinds of it's definitely not broken down by day. Mine's like broad sweeping, just shit that I learned and like stuff that I'm doing. It's kind of very general.
Cool.
So you start because you sound more structured. I'm guessing yours.
I'm a little bit more structured. Yeah, we'll figure out how this goes as we go through it.
Okay.
We plan this. Generally speaking, I've been better about my sleep schedule over the last month.
It's good.
The holidays were all over the place. And recently it's been later than I want to by like a couple hours, but it's still a significant improvement. I've been going to bed, like 10 or 11 probably, or a little earlier, almost all nights instead of like 2 in the morning, which is what I used to do, like 2 or 3 in the morning. So that's a lot better overall. And then eating generally has been better. I started using the MyFitnessPal thing to track.
Yeah.
I'm like way under calorie most days, significantly. I usually eat around like 1,500 calories a day, or less. I think yesterday I ate like 1,000. So usually under calories. So I'm gonna try and see if I can incorporate some healthy foods to kind of get me up to like maybe like 2,000 calories a day would be cool. And then
Are you trying to put on weight?
No, but I think I'm eating in such a deficit that I'm probably gonna struggle to build muscle. Like I'm eating in such a calorie and protein deficit overall.
Protein for sure. Protein based muscle.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think I think I'm fine for where I'm at right now, but since I'm also going to the gym more, I should probably at least bump it up a couple hundred calories and focus on the protein in that sense too. Yeah. I've been buying like protein yogurt and like stuff like that, and trying to focus on eating more meats as well. So just kind of trying to bump up. The MyFitnessPal thing was useful because I can like see exactly like what the breakdown is every day. Yeah. And kind of like gauge it from there. Like this Red Bull probably isn't any good for me, but
and having something that tells you how many calories you're burning is good too.
Yeah.
So like the amount of protein dictates how much muscle mass. Protein dictates muscle mass, and calories dictate body mass, like fat. So the problem is you can't get in enough protein to build substantial muscle without also getting in a bunch of calories. So it's either you're lifting a lot and eating a lot of protein and also eating a lot of calories and not doing cardio. So you're building muscle, but also gaining fat, that's bulk. Or you eat a lot of protein, but not as much of either, not as much protein or calories, and that's a cut. So that's why people bulk and cut, is because it's easier to maintain muscle than it is to grow muscle. So to grow it, you need a shitload of protein. That's a shitload of calories.
Yeah. I'm just trying to get my balance a little bit better, because there's definitely like I cut out a lot of the chips and stuff like that earlier last year.
That's great.
But just generally speaking, like being able to see what I eat and what the breakdown is, like a couple of things have surprised me. So I'm just trying to cater to stuff that's a little bit more protein oriented, because I think that's where I lack overall. Like my other like carbs and sugars are generally okay for the day, but my protein lacks a little bit. So I'm just trying to focus a little bit more on that. And if I can get my calorie count a little bit more consistent around like 1,500, 1,800, rather than like 1,000 to 1,500, I think that would probably just benefit me from a maintenance perspective, and probably like, I think it would give me a better gauge of like why I feel really lethargic some days, and some days I feel good energy, and kind of just, having a schedule so that I understand how I operate and like what I can do to make myself function better throughout the day.
Yeah.
Kind of generally speaking, what I have.
Yeah, that's not a lot of calories.
Yeah.
It's not much at all.
Oh, it's like 2 meals a day.
Right. But that explains why your body mass is so small. All right.
Yeah.
Which is where you wanted it. I was right.
Yes. So I am at 138 now,
Right.
which is where I wanted to be. And, I'd happily build back up to like 150, 155, but just leaner than I was when I was at 150, 155.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And the upping the calories will result in more body fat if it's not also met with like more cardio calorie burning.
Yeah.
So if the workouts stay the same but you eat more, you will gain fat, maybe also muscle if you're doing some lifting. But like don't freak out if you get more like pudge on you as a result of that.
I'm just going to keep an eye on it. That's essentially my goals have been just doing the Google Calendar, which I didn't mention, but doing a Google Calendar, keeping track of my food, going to the gym. So it's just basic stuff that I've been working on since last year, but just continuing to improve upon those things.
Google Calendar for like gym and stuff?
I do Google Calendar for my days now, like speaking for my days. Yeah.
Got it.
Just to help me plan stuff out, like appointments and whatever else. And
I switched to that last year.
Yeah. So I started doing that mid-end December. So just kind of doing a few of those things. But over the holiday break, I went up to Massachusetts to see my family. Flew up there on the 22nd, and then spent the Christmas portion from like the 23rd to the 27th with my dad. And in that time, I spent some time with family, but also worked on some drop shipping stuff in terms of advertisements, website, and product. So just kind of finalizing a few of those things. And then one small note I had in here was I play pool with my dad every year that I go see him. And every year I get a little bit better. And this year I won one of the 2 games we played. So I'm a little bit better. Usually
we did both. We did, I think, this year play the most pool that we have in the time that we've been friends.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
So I bet some of those skills transferred over.
Yeah. And I didn't even have like that great of games. But I've definitely got a little bit better at pool, which is fun and cool. Then I went over with my mom and hung out with my mom and Baba. I clean the cars for them every year. So clean their cars up for the new year. And got some nice new small things for Christmas, New Year, new sunglasses, new shirt, and some like small odd end things.
Cool.
And then I had
a special gift from Mason.
What?
It's a big special gift from Mason.
Oh yeah, I got Mason a helmet case.
So from Mason.
I haven't got
anything yet.
Yeah, well, we do that, but yeah, whatever.
I have an idea, but I think it's kind of shitty and it's contingent on a lot of things going well. So I'm not sure. I might if I find something better. We'll see.
Not worried about it. But this is one tidbit thing I threw down here because I wanted your feedback and input on it. I thought it was interesting to talk about. But I saw one of my old high school friends. They live in DC. They went to school in DC and now they live in DC. They work in foreign affairs. So they deal with like, the Capitol and what government agencies are connecting with who on what side of the globe and what's going on, security wise, intelligence wise. General trade wise, stuff like that. Essentially, foreign affairs is what they do. But they were talking about how they said a few things that were really funny. But the first thing I want to bring up is they were talking about how they were struggling to find. There's a girl. She was struggling to find a boyfriend up there. And she was like,
I thought we were about to go to foreign affairs stuff. So I've got my classified hat on, and I'm like, okay, start thinking about what you can and can't say. You hard pivoted into,
yeah.
So she's single, and like she's kind of got a rack on.
No.
Okay.
No.
Keep going.
So she doesn't have a boyfriend up there, and she was talking about like her experience in the dating scene up there. And she was talking about how a lot of the guys up there are like very career focused and they are all about like the hookup scene and like no one wants to commit to anything and blah, blah, blah. And she's talking through this. But prior to that, she'd spent like the last 45 minutes talking about her career and where she's going, what she's doing.
Yeah.
And so I'm sitting there and I'm like, you want a guy who's going to, A, I'm like, I don't know if you know what you actually want, right? And then B, I'm like, you say that you want a guy who's family oriented, but you present yourself as someone who is not family oriented because you have a government job with a government career and you're focused on this paperwork that needs to be done before the administration change and this thing and this thing. And it's like, how do you expect to attract a family-oriented guy when you are not a family-oriented woman?
Right.
And it's like, that might kind of sound sexist, but I think it's just like in this case, I guess like attracts like, you know what I mean?
I don't think it's sexist.
Yeah,
It's
I don't think
thinking
so.
about it.
I just think it's factual, but
Yeah.
it was really interesting for me to hear her talk about how she was struggling in the dating market. And I'm like, well, like, do you present yourself as someone who would attract the type of person that you want in the dating market? You know what I mean? It's like and it's like you have to work to you have to work to present yourself as someone who attracts the person you want. Like, you can't just like sit back and go through life or go in one direction of life, but then want something else in addition to it that is completely unrelated and that generally doesn't it's hard to mix well together. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I just thought it was interesting. Someone really respected highly through high school, like just seemed to have a little bit of a lack of self-reflection in that sense.
Yeah.
And like she seemed to acknowledge it a little bit, but she was more frustrated by it than she was committed to solving it.
Yeah.
Right. And I thought that was really interesting to see. And I told her about some of the drop shipping stuff that I was doing. And she like had she was definitely judgmental of the drop shipping stuff, which like I don't really give a shit. But it's interesting to me that people I've seen this many times before, but it's always interesting to me that people will judge someone else for trying to pursue something or trying to make a better life or trying to go for something or taking a risk that they're not willing to take. Like they'll judge that person and they'll sit back and do whatever 9 to 5 thing they got and just talk the talk and never actually do anything about it. Like, who are you to judge me? Like, yeah, am I like tingling with excitement to dropship products from China? No.
Yeah.
But like it's a stepping stone into a better life. And I want to be able to do greater things. And this is a vehicle that I see as I can feasibly do because I have the skill set for it. And this is what I'm going to do. Do I want to fucking sell cheap shit from China for the rest of my life? No, but it's not about what I want to fucking do all the time either. You know what I mean?
Was she judgmental about the drop shipping because of it being like a solo business and like the business model, or because you're doing shit with China? Because in foreign affairs, working for the United States, you're very icy to China, and I understand that.
Yeah, I don't. I think for her, from what I gathered, it was more of like a moral thing. Like that doesn't seem really like a high class business model. Like that was the kind of vibe I got.
Got it.
You know what I
Like you're
mean?
just a middleman type of thing.
Right.
Got it.
Like and I think there was an aspect of it too that's like if I was doing something that was more, how do I put this? I'm gonna try to put it as like um, typical or grounded.
Yeah.
Like if I
Okay.
was like I'm
Opening a restaurant.
starting a handyman little business on the side on the
Sorok
weekends
on
with
the-
cars. You know what I mean? And I'm gonna fix a car a weekend,
Yeah.
right? Like that's like more attainable for people to grasp. But as soon as it's like I'm doing an online business with blah 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 and running ads on social medias and this stuff, like it doesn't seem as like typical or attainable. And then people just get cold to it because they're like, "Why are you doing that? You should be doing what I'm doing, or something synonymous with what I'm doing."
Right.
You know what I mean? And I think that goes for a lot of different models. I think that you see that in real estate a lot. It's like, well, why are you involved in real estate? Just like,
Right.
oh, buy a house, like then you can be in real estate and like just do something normal. Why are you bothering? You know what I mean? I think you see that in a lot of different businesses, but it was just interesting for me to see that reaction from her. And the other thing that she said, the other two things that she said that made me laugh. I didn't laugh because I didn't care enough to get into an argument about it, but she was talking about the presidential election. And she was like, like Kamala Harris was like really good for college educated individuals who could understand what she had to say. And I was like, I am a fucking college level educated individual and I didn't understand half the shit that came out of her fucking mouth.
Yep.
And like I thought that was really funny. And it was really funny to me because it's like you are in such a bubble in DC
Mhm.
where it's like almost everything left is just taken as gold. It's just like, oh man, like this is like people just can't get it. You know what I mean? Like she's great, she talks
Oh,
great,
yeah.
she has great policies, but like the rest of the country's just all fucked up and they don't get it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And it was so interesting to see that. And then she talked about how like, people just needed more time to like understand her and listen to her and hear her. And I was like, her fucking polls got worse the more she went on. The more people heard her talk and the more interviews she gave, the worse her poll numbers got because the worse she looked.
I heard
She didn't need more time. She actually probably could have done better with less time.
I think that I heard in a Modern Wisdom podcast the other week that Washington, D.C. voted 93% blue in this election or something like that.
It's something crazy like
Yeah,
that.
so it's
Yeah.
super isolated in that.
Yeah.
ideology.
And it was just really interesting to see that because it's like I for me the most fascinating part was there were like I listened to every single speech and interview she gave. Every single one. Some of them I listened to twice. In none of those interviews, even as someone who was trying to understand and like hear a point of view, in none of those interviews did I think, wow, what an astute intellectual.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so it was wild for me to hear someone who like I know is relatively smart, genuinely think that like this person had their shit together, especially when you like not without even going into like her record as Attorney General of California.
Yeah.
Like it was just wild to me.
I think when I listen to her speak, I can tell what direction she's throwing on the field, but I don't know who she's throwing to. Like,
Right.
I know the general flow, but I can't get the specifics out of it. And the problem is with the leader of that stature is you have to have a really clear vision of exactly what it is that you want and pursue that, right? So like what I heard recently, Trump is talking about the Gulf of America and the 51st state is Canada and stuff like that,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That's what I've heard is that his real intention there is to
Did you see Trudeau resigned? I think.
yeah. Well, I think something that I saw online was that he doesn't actually want Canada to be a 51st state or to take over Greenland or anything like that. What he wants is just to start using the resources from the other Americas. So to create like kind of an EU, like a European Union, but for the Americas. So, gain more access to
Strong allies and partnerships.
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect sense.
There was something in this TikTok that I saw, so take it with a grain of salt, but it was something like there's oil restrictions on the mining that we can do in the Gulf of Mexico because it's the Gulf of Mexico. So if we rename it to the Gulf of America, then we could start mining there and getting that oil. And then Greenland also has a lot of oil resources too. So what I saw was if he starts out really brash with like, we're going to take over it all, and then you go to the negotiation table with the leaders of these countries, they know that what you want is nuts. So if you can negotiate down from there, then the best case scenario for Canada is like we're in a European Union type of scenario. And that's the end goal that Trump actually wants.
And it's like, what
he's highballing.
Does anyone even know what the fuck Kamala wanted? Like when she was asked like her plans, like half her responses were like, I'm going to follow the law. And I was like, if you fucking create the law, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Like, what does it mean?
Change the law.
What do you want?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know. Maybe I'm an idiot. I don't think I am. But if someone out there got something extremely meaningful from any of those interviews, please comment, because I, as a college-educated individual, did not think that she spoke at a college-educated individual level.
Yeah, I think that she performs really poorly on stage. She might do better in one-on-one interviews, but even the one-on-one interviews she did were not fucking like. I think it really hammers home the point that if you're gonna run for political office, you can't just jump into it out of nowhere. You have to have like. Well, not even that, because Trump did that and he did pretty well. Trump made a lot of mistakes in his first term, but he still was better. He was better spoken, I think. I don't know. In any case, with your friend's scenario about her projecting one thing and then judging for another thing, I think a lot of people fall into that, not because they want to understand what other people are doing, but because when you talk about what you're doing and you're excited about it, they reflect on themselves and think, well, maybe I'm going the wrong direction.
Yeah.
So then they need to verify their position and say like, no, what I'm actually doing is good. So then they try to put your thing down to reassure themselves that their thing is good.
Yeah.
But like when you wanted to stop the business to do the drop shipping thing, it wasn't from a perspective of like, I don't think this is not going to work. I just think that something else will work better for me. Right.
Yeah.
And so like both businesses have the opportunity to make the same amount of money and take different levels of input. Right. It just works differently. It's the same, but different. Yeah. Like engineers pay rent the same way that artists do. Right. You get hand cash to your landlord. Right.
Yeah.
And everyone can make money in different ways. And I feel that a lot of people are so nervous about their actual footing that they need to, I'm at a loss for this word. establish their position.
They need to compensate, I guess.
Yeah, it's kind of what it is.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
the dating thing really sucks because, I mean,
Attractive, smart young girl, and it's like,
well, hang on.
man,
Let's draw
like,
a
why
comparison
can't
here.
you?
Let's draw a comparison here between her not being very clear in what she wants, but knowing in her head that what she currently has isn't what she wants. And then let's compare that to her ideal political candidate who cannot articulate what she wants, but knows that she doesn't like what she has now, right? So
Yeah.
it's kind of reflective there of the type of people that
found a
she
good
aspires to. They also don't really know what they want or can't
Yeah.
articulate it, or you just don't understand. So when she's telling you all these guys are like, I understand you don't want a guy that only wants to hook up and isn't so involved in his career that he doesn't want a family, right? Okay, I understand that. But then you need to define, I want a guy who checks these boxes. You can't just say, I want a guy who doesn't check these boxes. You have to say a guy that does check these boxes, and then what can I do to match that? You mentioned before we started recording the Tom Segura and Christina Pajitsky podcast, the Your Mom's House. Have you seen the clips from that where they watch the black guy who talks to overweight women about why they can't get a decent man?
Yes.
He's
Yes.
like, one of the women is like, she's talking about like wearing a two-piece, and he's like, a two-piece? You're so fat. Fucking get the fuck out of here. He ends the call. He's like, you go on and get your two-piece, six-piece, 12-piece chicken McNuggets. Get the fuck out of my phone call. He hangs up on her. It's so funny.
Yeah.
But his whole premise is like, you're overweight, you're unemployed, you have no education, and you want a high-class man? Like,
Right.
would you date a man who's in your same position, overweight, unemployed, not funny, uneducated? And they go, no, I don't want him. I want someone of stature. And he's like, yeah, that's how they see you.
Yeah.
And they're like, I'm body positive. And like, they fight back on it, right?
Right.
And most people have a really difficult time accepting that they are not valuable in that category. And the problem is, once those people get jobs, and once those people start going to work and working as foreign affairs associates, and then someone else comes in who's doing a different business and running their own shit, they start to get self-reflective again. And then they go, oh, fuck, am I not valuable? And then they go, well, no, I am valuable because I earn income. So some portion of me is providing value to a potential partner, right? And then they fail to perceive that they have grown in the career aspect, but not in the personal development aspect. And you can't ask for someone who's personally developed if you're not on that path yourself.
Right.
Which is why people always say you find love when you're not looking for it. Because once you're assured of yourself in a single setting, then you can open yourself up.
One of the things she said too was like, a lot of the guys, or some of the guys that she found, out of the guys that she went on dates with, some of them were more family oriented. Out of those family oriented guys, a very high percentage of them leaned right. And I was like, I didn't say anything, but in my head I was like, well, duh, because the left tells you that men suck and men are this and men shouldn't be this and men shouldn't be that. And so it's like, where do men go? They go where they are told to grow and improve and be strong and embrace their masculinity. Like, it's obvious why the change is there. Like, it at least to me it is. And it's like, you want this, a left/right leaning guy who's in the middle, but is also extremely family oriented and has career, but is also a family man. Like, I could dream up a utopia over here too, or utopia, is that the dream one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ideal world.
Right. Some ideal guy as well. But it's like, you got to put yourself in a position to attract at least a higher percentage of those types of people. You know what I mean? And you can't just go about your daily life expecting someone to fall from the sky for you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well,
and I give her some props because she is looking at moving to Texas to potentially try to like get out of the DC bubble to find someone better. And I think there's probably a higher probability she'd find someone that's at least more family oriented in Texas.
Yeah.
But it was just an interesting conversation.
The problem to me doesn't sound like the level of family orientedness in their partner, but she said, I found guys who check the box that I want, but they disagree with me politically. And what signals to me there is that you have an inability to disagree with your partner on, these types of topics. Like if you're like, I'm not
ain't
gonna
that
date
deep, bro.
someone, huh?
It's like, it ain't that deep, bro.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
if you can't communicate or build a connection with somebody who disagrees with you on political issues, you could say that political issues signal what your morality is, but political issues don't define everything. Like, you could label me right or left depending on given issues, and Grace and I disagree on many different things.
Right.
And in other elections, she's leaned left, and in other elections, she's leaned right, and I'm mostly the same. But we disagree fundamentally on like 5 major topics, but we still are able to get along because it's okay to disagree.
Yep.
And I was listening to this guy, I forget his name. He's a divorce attorney. He's been big on TikTok recently.
Yep.
And he was talking about prenups. And he was like, a lot of couples get married without talking about getting a prenup because they're like, oh, we don't even want to consider the fact of a divorce. And like, we don't even want to think about it. We trust each other and we love each other. But what that signals to him is that they have an inability to sit down and have difficult conversations together without spiraling into argument. And that is a signal that you shouldn't get married at all. If you can't even have a discussion about a prenup, you shouldn't get married at all. Similarly, if you can't have a political discussion without hating each other and getting angry and yelling, then you probably shouldn't be with that person. But if you want someone with family traits of someone on the other side of the political aisle, maybe reconsider your agreeableness on political issues.
Yeah. Yeah. I hear you there. I do want to move on to a couple of the other things I have as well.
I'll allow it.
Oh, wow. Okay, cool. So I went racing on the 30th. And not, I did go on the first as well, but I went racing on the 30th, and I went racing with an old shifter cart friend of mine. It was the one I used to race shifter carts with. It was a lot of fun. The track layout has changed since I've had the record there. And they were only running the adult carts there. They have adult carts, which are like similar to the Orlando Kart Center carts, and then they have pro carts, which are just a touch quicker than the Orlando Kart Center carts.
We did the Orlando Kart Center Pro Carts. Right?
Yeah, they're not as quick as those though.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, they're like a weird in between. But anyways, they were only running the adult carts there. And so I started off the day. The adult carts are a very different technique, so it was a little bit of a learning curve for me. I ran a 38.3 for a lap time. Then my buddy in the shifter cart racing ran a 38.4. And then his daughter, who used to be my shifter cart coach, ran a 38.7. But her best previously was a 38.2. So we were all within a couple tenths in terms of our best time. And so I had a really great time with them. It was a lot of fun. All good, all good. And then, I went racing on the first again. And I was watching a kid who had a very different technique for the adult carts. Instead of like, with the pro carts, you have to be super smooth, like as smooth as possible. And then with the adult carts, I was watching this kid and I was like, yes, it was about smoothment, but how smooth you are. But it was also a lot about, can you just carry speed? Like, even if you're not going to brake and you're going to take a little bit of a weirder line, like, can you just carry speed? Which is, it's kind of a rougher technique. But I started doing that and trying that out. I ran a 37.7, so I ran 6 tenths quicker overall, and I was consistently quicker too. And just kind of started trying that technique out and perfecting it, and had a lot of fun that day. It was a good learning experience. So
Cool.
At the track, I really enjoyed it. Did a bunch of racing, good competition, and had some fun. So I flew back on the 2nd, and in this time period, I did a lot of advertisement work and stuff like that, which for the drop shipping stuff. And so I spent some time that weekend, the weekend of the 4th and 5th, going through some of those advertisements, continuing to make edits. This whole time I'm going through like multiple revisions and revisions and revisions, asking people what they think, asking for feedback, etc., stuff like that. And I was going to launch them on this past Monday, but my Facebook ad account got flagged, which is relatively common. As you know from our previous Facebook experience, Facebook is nothing but a nightmare.
I've blocked it all out like a rape victim blocks out.
Yeah, it is terrible. But I do want, before I get into this week of stuff, that was my break summary. Essentially, it was a lot of drop shipping, product, website, advertisement work,
Racing.
Good fun racing, some good learning experiences, catching up with old high school friends. I met up with 3 other friends as well. And it's interesting. They're all going for either master's or PhD. Every single one of my friends is going from high school is either going for master's or PhD. No one's which is cool and dandy. And a lot of them are in research, which is interesting too. A lot of science research guys.
Got it.
But yeah, that was my break. It was productive, relatively speaking, to what it was. I enjoyed it, relatively speaking, and definitely had a lot of fun racing, but glad to be back. And then I'll run through this week kind of general stuff, but I'll give you the opportunity to give some updates.
Sure. My break was significantly different because I didn't travel, and everyone who I know and talked to left. So you and Grace left town like pretty much immediately into break. And my parents are like getting pseudo divorced, so like it's not actually happening, but they like aren't living together and stuff. So it was a weird break. It's like the family wasn't all together, and then my friends and the new person that I live with also wasn't in town. So it was very solo. But I got a lot done. I am continuing on my real estate course. It's a 63-hour course. And as of today, I'm just over halfway through with it. I broke the halfway point last night during the Pauhana annual party. I'm at 104 pages of notes. And I think I'm getting close to actually doing the course for 60 hours. So I'm taking a long ass time doing it, but I'm taking really diligent notes because you can't copy paste from the course. And I learn best when I'm rewriting things. So I'm reading a sentence, reconfiguring it in my head into a language that I can understand, and then pretty much writing a note about it. So I'm being really diligent with it, but I need to do it because a lot of it is so fucking boring that I won't remember it anyways. So I actually went through and I tried to find interesting examples of notes I'd taken to share on the podcast, and there's just not many of them. The biggest one that I can remember is I really like doing the course with Grace sitting next to me because I can like elbow her and like talk to her about topics, and having a conversation reminds me about it. So one of the things that I learned was about the Fair Housing Act, which I would not have remembered at all if I didn't have this discussion. But essentially, as a real estate agent, like let's say you're trying to buy a house, or no, you're selling your house.
Okay.
All right. You're selling your house. I'm your real estate agent. I've got a guy sitting outside who wants to buy your house. You can ask any question you want about his finances because you need to be certain that he's going to actually make payments, right? Let's say that you're going to do seller financing. So you're going to hand the title to your house to a bank, and they're going to collect monthly payments from the guy outside, and then they're going to hand those monthly payments to you. And if that guy ever fails to pay, you get the title to your house back. All right? That's how seller financing works. You can ask any questions you want about that guy, about his finances and finances only. You can't ask about his race, his religious beliefs, his familial status, where he comes from, his nationality, his citizenship. You can't ask any questions about any of that stuff because that's considered a protective category. Because in fact, when segregation was a thing, where there weren't slaves, but there was segregation, people would decide to not sell their homes to black people. And this defends against that. So like the guy sitting outside could be any race, any ethnicity, any age, you don't know. And the reason is because they're afraid that people would not sell houses to individuals that are not the same race as them, right? And I had a bit of an issue with that because what if the person sitting outside, I can look at their finances. Let's say they make $5,000 a month, which is pretty solid, and they're able to save $1,000 a month, and their monthly payment would be $1,000 a month. So they would be able to make the monthly payment, right? But the person sitting outside is recently divorced, is not getting any alimony or child support from the dad, has a kid, and is pregnant with triplets that's about to hit. Like, there's a lot of about to not be able to make payments out there that I don't know about because I'm not allowed to ask those questions. And so I had a really interesting discussion with Grace about it. And ultimately, we had different perspectives because my perspective was, you know, I like to have all cards on the table where I have all the information that I need.
Yeah.
And I feel that as a real estate agent, I would be withholding information from my client by not telling them these things. So, like, if you were to ask me directly, like, what gender is the person sitting outside, I can't say. Oh, in 2021 or 2022, they signed a new bill that says you can't ask about gender, sex, or gender identity. So even if they're a Z-Zimzir, you can't ask me about that. I can't tell you. So as a real estate agent, when people ask me these questions, I'm going to have to tell them, I can't tell you that under the Fair Housing Act, which makes me sad because I like transparent transactions.
Yeah.
But it was an interesting case. But that's one of the boring things from the real estate course that I was
That
able
is
to
interesting.
make interesting by talking to Grace. I also learned I haven't gotten as much done on the course because I had 3 days after you and Grace left to do work on it, which I did. And then I had 3 more days that I had booked out entirely. They were going to be like 18-hour days to do nothing but this course. And it was coming off the heels of the alumni row. So I woke up on a Sunday morning and I went to an alumni row for Space Coast Crew, which was a really important day for me because we're looking at racing boats at the Charles in the fall.
Yep.
And I want to put together an FIT alumni boat. So it was an important day for me because this is my first time rowing in like a year and a half. And I have never gone this long without rowing before. So I don't know if I'm going to still have it or not. I don't know if it's like riding a bike, if you're going to be able to pick it right back up again or what. Prior to this, the longest stretch I've been is probably like 2.5 months of not rowing. So 2.5 months to like a year and a half is a big jump. So we got to the row and I recognize most of the people there. There's a couple that I don't. And one of the kids that I don't recognize introduces himself as Anthony. And his family donated a bunch of money to the team when he was on, and they bought one of the boats. And that was actually going to be the boat that we were going to row that day. And so we're collecting people, and it turns out we're a guy short. So I'm making phone calls to try to get somebody. And I finally get someone. So I'm like, okay, hey, this person's on their way. And the coxswain's like, okay, let's put lineups together. And I was like, okay, of everyone here, most people haven't rowed in a long time. There's 2 of us that have rowed recently. I rowed a year and a half ago, and Chris, who rows starboard, graduated in May last year. So since we rowed the most recently, we should be in the stern pair of the boat. So the 2 guys at the very front who everyone else follows, right?
Yeah.
Those guys, stern pair needs to be the most technically proficient because everyone else is following them. So they set the cadence, they set the rhythm of the boat, and it's really important that they're the most technically proficient. Not that I'm more technically proficient than everyone else in their prime, but I've rowed way more frequently and I'm in the best shape, so I should be in stern pair with this other guy. Anthony, the kid whose parents donated a bunch of money on the team, was like, well, I'm going to stroke the boat. And I was like, I can only advise against that. And he was like, why? And I was like, because you haven't rowed since 2015 and you stopped at high school. I rowed in high school and college, and I graduated a year ago. So I think it would be better if I were to stroke the boat. And he was like, but my parents bought the boat, so I'm going to do it. And I was like, kind of at a loss. And I was like, dude, I don't know what to tell you. And one of the other guys who rowed with his ear piped up, he was like, Mason, he's just kidding. Don't worry about it. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. So we check the seats down, we get hands on, we bring it down to the dock, and we put it in the water. And then he stands by stroke seat. And I'm like, hey, man, are you serious about this? And he was like, why do you want me to not stroke? And I was like, dude, it's not about you not stroking. It's about having someone who has more recent experience stroking. And he was like, but why is it important for stroke seat to have rowed more recently? And I was like, dude, if you're asking that question, you should not be stroking the boat. And he was like, okay, fine, I'll sit in this other seat. And I was like, okay. So I was able to get into stroke seat, which was great. The rest of the lineup, I think, was structured pretty well. And we had a good row. And importantly, the coxswain took video of me, and the critical components of my stroke are still there, which is good. I did not have the flexibility that I used to. I definitely did not have the cardio that I used to, but the technique is still there.
Good.
So resounding success. I'm really happy with it. And I know that the only thing stopping me from actually racing competitively at the Charles in October is just conditioning. It's just cardio.
Yeah.
So if we do get a boat entry I think we'll get it in January. We'll find out in February. I think I can actually be competitive. So that's super cool. But I get off from the alumni row. We're done at like maybe 11 a.m. and I go to the bar to get to work, and I sit down and I log into my account and my course is gone. And I was like, fucking what? And it said your course is expired. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? So I'm making a bunch of phone calls. It's Sunday, so no one's picking up. I finally get the guy who runs the school in Melbourne, and he's like, oh shit, dude, I'm so sorry. It's a Sunday. I'm going to have to call them tomorrow. And I was like, fuck, this is one of my 3 18-hour days that you're just shooting in the foot. So then the next day I call back. There's still nothing. I reach out. I find I'm doing it with A+ real estate schools, right? So I go to the website. I go to a different A+ real estate school website, and they have a disclaimer that says, if you're halfway through a course right now, you might have lost access. Contact us to reset your password and we'll fix your account. And I was like, cool. So I contact them. I don't get an email back. I call them. I get put on voicemail. They call me back an hour later. I'm talking to them. I'm working with them for like 2 hours to figure this out. Turns out in Melbourne, there's A+ real estate schools, which is what I'm doing. In Colorado, there's A+ real estate school. Not plural, school, not schools. That's who had the disclaimer on their website, and I had been working for 3 hours to try to fix. So they were like, you're talking to the wrong people. Call the Melbourne guys. It's a different company. Fuck. So I call him back. He's like, yeah, they're working on it. It's not going to be done today. There's my second 18-hour day gone. So we get into the third 18-hour day, and at 4 p.m. that day, they call me back. I have to leave to get Grace at 6. So I'm like, okay, I have fucking 2 hours to do this. So I do it for 2 hours, and now I'm at like a third of the way through the course. And I go get Grace. And the next 2 days I have booked out to do family Christmas shit. I went to the Lego store and got a big Lego set, which was awesome. So I spent the next 2 days after that on break doing Legos. So I'm behind on the real estate stuff, which is frustrating. But I have a general plan for this year down. And I used the opportunity of those 3 days where I couldn't work on the real estate to get my contacts list finished up. Okay. I'm this fucking close. I had it done. And then I realized that you can go through and add people's job titles into their contact and add their LinkedIn in there. So now I'm going back through everyone and I'm adding these job titles in LinkedIn.
I still haven't added your dad's personal phone number as a contact. He comes up as a random number, and now I have to scroll up in the text messages to figure out who it is. And they're like, "Oh, it's Robert."
Dude, did you know Tyler does that with everybody? I
Yeah.
made him that. What's funny is he pulled his phone out and he was showing me, and I texted him. And you know how sometimes Apple, it's like this person wants to share their contact info with you with the photo and stuff. I saw him decline it, and I was like, no, stop it, go back in there. And I made him add my photo and my name to my profile. So when I texted him, he fucking answered.
That's wild.
But he does that for everyone. So I was done, and I backtracked, and I decided I wasn't again. So it's probably not going to get done until next week, but it's close. And I have a strategy. I'm writing in everyone's birthday in their contact, and I'm going to sync that with my Google Calendar. So I'll have Google contacts. So when I email people, it's all in Google and ready to go. But also, it'll put people's birthdays on my Google Calendar. So I can reach out to them and say, happy birthday, how are you doing? You know, what gets you excited these days? And we'll start a conversation. They'll go, naturally, what are you up to? And I'll say, I've actually transitioned out of engineering into real estate. Who do you know who's looking to buy a home?
Oh, smart.
So even if I have no other leads, I have people whose birthday is like every week or two. So here's my general plan for real estate this year. Since it's the beginning of the year, it's kind of like, what's the plan off the top? So I want to get my license as quickly as I can, but I don't want to rush through the course and waste it, because if I can burn through the course and just click through everything and go to the exam and try to abacab it. But if I don't actually learn this shit, I can't go back into the course without paying another $300. So I don't want to fucking light it on fire. But I have to get my fingerprints done to do the state exam. So I take this course exam and then I take the state exam, and I have to have my fingerprints done prior to being allowed to take the state exam. Well, this fingerprinting service, it's a fingerprinting and background check service, which they only do at like 4 UPS stores in the county. One of them is in Palm Bay. I've scheduled with them 3 times. Their fingerprinting machine is down and is not back up again. Every time I've gone in person, the screen lights up.
It's well used in Palm Bay.
Dude, it's fucked. And they're the only one. I have to go up to like North Vieira to do it at a different location. So
St. Brevard,
I guess
to get fingerprints.
fucking 3.
Now I get your joke.
3 different fucking appointments with them. I went the first time, I went the second time like an idiot, and the third time I just called them an hour before and I was like, is your machine working? They were like, yeah. And I was like, go check it. And they were like, oh, dude, I'm looking at it, the screen's on. And I was like, touch the buttons. And they were like, oh, the touch screen doesn't seem to work. And I was like, fucker. So it's, even if I finished the course today, I couldn't take the state exam until next week anyways. But I want to get my license as quick as I can. I'm targeting February. I'm guessing that I'll get the license in February. It'll probably take me like 2 or 3 weeks to pick a broker and sign up with them. But generally speaking, they say that the work you do in real estate, you really pays off 3 months from that point. Because once you acquire a lead and you figure out what kind of house they're looking for, and then you set up the deal, and then you go do showings, and then you start like submit an offer, and then you actually get your payment, it's 3 months from when you met them. So from February, 3 months from then is May. And that's the last month that I want to be working in Northrop Grumman at the absolute latest. Grace has a similar goal, which is to quit working at Kraken Kava Bar at least by May. So we'll both be doing real estate full-time in May. That's the goal. So real estate full-time in May. I want this year to be my first 6-figure year, which I'm making 80 right now, but not working at Northrop Grumman should be a decrease in income, but then real estate should more than make up for it, right? But I don't just want a 6-figure year because that's a category that says I need to be making X amount of money. I also want to control my spending. So I want to say that by the end of this year, I want to have enough money to live with 1 year with no income.
Okay.
So it's not just make more money. It's also don't increase your spending habits along with that money. And generally speaking, for people who want to start a business, which is what my end state goal is you should have like 6 months to a year of like, you know how Hormozy had like 50K saved up when he did gyms? I don't have that 50K. And part of the reason that our business didn't work out is because I didn't have that money, and there would be a lot of pressure to try to get it done and get it producing money right away. So to alleviate that, not only do I want to make more money, but I also want to save more money. And then along with that, as I work through real estate, I want to keep my Rolodex updated. So like as I meet more people and add them to my contacts list, I want to continually update that. Because something that I've realized from a lot of the real estate people that we've met is real estate agents work hand in hand with business owners, especially if you're doing commercial real estate because they're buying buildings for their business. And those people you can call on for OPM, other people's money, all the time. So I want to try to, my 3 goals are 6 figures by like quit my job by May, 6 figures this year, enough to live for a year, which I think it's like 40 grand is enough for me to live for a whole year. And then the Rolodex. So that's my general winter break update for that.
Cool. Very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. In terms of, I want to run through a little bit of this week, what I've done, an extension of that. So I did a bunch of dropshipping work over the holiday period, and then I got back to work. And I've been doing the dropshipping stuff. And I am, after struggling with Facebook Business Manager and a bunch of just generic meta business bullshit, essentially, just crap, trying to get support with it, trying to make different ad accounts, trying to get another business manager.
Have you seen the
junk.
Have you seen the new Rogan episode with Mark Zuckerberg?
No,
Not once does he mention Meta being fucked to shit.
he should.
He's got his fucking priorities all fucked. He's like, I'm doing jujitsu and like I want to compete in a tournament.
It's
and I'm like,
gross.
hey, asshole, your fucking business platform sucks ass. Did you figure your shit out? Dude, the second they bought Instagram and made Meta over Facebook, it went to fucking shit.
Yeah,
it's just
terrible.
a fucking nightmare.
It's horrible. It's horrible to use. I literally, I don't think this would be an exaggeration. I've probably spent just in the last week approximately 10 hours just sifting through the settings pages, menus, and different profile settings to try and figure out a solution or try to figure out what I'm supposed to do to fix it.
There's 16 different settings boxes, and there's 15 different pages with different UIs.
Yep.
It's fucked up, dude.
Yeah.
And in that Joe Rogan episode, the whole time I'm watching it, the reason he went on is because he's changing his misinformation policy to be like less restrictive or whatever, right? So essentially, I think he went on to Rogan to try to explain himself and like, oh, I'm not a bad guy. I was just being intimidated by the government. But nowhere in there does he talk about actually fucking improving the shit that like business owners give a shit.
They've done a great job making it look pretty, but they haven't done a great job making it function well.
Yeah, this will be flagged on Facebook as misinformation.
I hope it is. I hope it is. But anyways, that I've been doing with. But the good news is that the mentor I'm working with was really happy with my ad final products.
Cool.
The
meme one is great.
The meme one's really funny. It is really.
Can we plug it in here?
Yeah, I could try to plug it in. Yeah. But yeah, the meme one's really funny. Overall, I think the product is still good. I think there's still time in the market for it. So I'm hoping that things go well starting running at midnight tonight. And then we'll go from there. I would really love at some point this month for me to have my first $1,000 gross day, not profit day, but gross.
Yeah.
I would really love that this month. And I'd really love at some point in the next 3 months to supplement my income with dropshipping. Those are kind of like my nearsighted goals. But in terms of day-to-day, I just focus on like, what is the thing I can do today to make the most progress possible for this? What do I need to do today? How do I crank that out? Additionally, what I've done is I've started to cut back on like drive times and certain stuff I don't need to drive to. Like I go to Powell less. I don't go to Kraken anymore. I'm moving my gym from the 192 to the Planet Fitness, like right next to me in Satellite Beach. Not as good of a gym, but it's closer.
I mean, most gyms have the shit that you.
Yeah, it's basic. Like I don't need special extension equipment to exercise. So,
do you know the midwit fallacy with modern wisdom? Are you familiar with this?
Yes,
it's a bell curve graph. Just quickly for the audience, it's a bell curve graph. On the left is like a mouth-breathing idiot. In the middle is like an intellectual with a hat on, and then like on the right is a dude in a hood who like knows everything.
Yep.
With gym equipment, it's like on the far left side, it's like I need special equipment that moves all these different directions because I'm too fat to use a regular machine. And then in the middle is a guy who's like, dude, machines are machines are machines. And then the dude on the far right is the guy who is like Alex Ramosi, who's like, I like this special machine because it moves my arm in this specific way to get the biggest stretch at the bottom as possible. And it's like having nicer machines is nice, but only if you know what you're doing with them. If you're a fucking idiot and you don't know what you're doing in the first place, then you don't need them, right? So like Planet Fitness, I'm sure has everything that you need.
Yeah. I think I'll be fine there.
Yeah.
But doing that, and then additionally, as I was waiting for Facebook to get back to me and kind of I was going through some materials and just relearning stuff, looking at stuff. I'm also finally getting around to finishing my setup of the crypto backend AI trader. Just something I want to run in the background with like $1,000 in it just to sit passively. because I do believe that crypto eventually will continue to grow. I think it's a long-term asset in that sense. I am not interested in trading it daily. I'm at least at this point for sure not. My primary focus and pretty much only business focus is dropshipping at the moment. But I would like to at least have something in crypto passively in the background, because I think that with the new administration coming in, I've heard some different things about crypto and the United States actually buying into a crypto reserve and stuff like that. So I think there is potential within the next year or two for it to go up. And I would like to be at least semi-involved in that wave in case it is fruitful. And then if it's not fruitful, it's just something that runs in the background.
I own Dogecoin.
You do?
It's a strategic maneuver for when Elon starts the Doge
That's
program.
smart.
Justin's writing a program, an AI program. He's writing a program using AI. That's the way to say it. To day trade crypto.
That's cool. That's cool.
I have no idea how it works.
That's essentially kind of what I work with. It's just on a platform. And there's other materials there too. There's educational materials and stuff like that. If I were to ever want to dive a little bit deeper into it, there's opportunity in that sense. And so I've gone through a good amount of the courses too and learned about the stuff.
Yeah.
But this week I dealt a little bit with Binance. For some reason, I have an outstanding balance on my Binance account, although I've never.
Is that crypto?
Yeah, it's an exchange.
Got it. Not ByteDance.
No.
Crypto company.
No. But for some reason I have an outstanding balance, although I've never like made a trade on their account, so I don't know how I have an outstanding balance. Anyways, I emailed them and I'm like, hey, what the heck? But what else I got here? I got some other stuff for sure. I did some just general work around the house, whatever, stuff like that. But I thought that this was interesting too. I was looking at the crypto stuff and looking at the AI trader, and there are a bunch of different exchanges like Binance and Bybit, and a lot of different ones, Binance US, stuff like that.
I use Coinbase.
Is
that one of them?
I think, yeah, I think I think that's considered an exchange.
I'm contributing.
There's like differences between like exchanges and wallets and
Okay.
something else. And honestly, I learned about it, and it's I get confused by it, to be honest.
Okay.
I try, but I think that it's one of those things that's like, for lack of a better term, it's a little bit like cryptic for me.
Yeah.
In terms of like how it works in my head. And so I just need to like continue to review it. But my goal is to just set up something on the back end to run automatically that I don't have to worry about. Like that's just what I want. I just want it passively.
Yeah.
But I thought this was really interesting. Bybit, so in this AI platform, you can choose a different strategy, and each strategy will link up to like a different exchange, and it lists how much volume is traded on each one of those exchanges per day.
Market cap?
Not market cap. It's the amount of money moved around.
Okay, so
in
it's like
USD.
market delta.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Per day.
Yeah. So just general money movement, volume of movement per day. Bybit had when I checked yesterday, in the last 24 hours, how much in USD do you think was moved around just through Bybit, which is like one of the exchanges?
Is Bybit a big exchange or a small exchange?
A large exchange. It's probably the biggest.
Probably like 6 billion.
Over 80 trillion.
Holy shit.
In 24 hours.
What the fuck?
That was the amount of volume. I think it was 83 trillion.
That's
Binance, which I'm a part of, was about 40 billion in the last 24 hours.
Well, hang on. So if I take $1 and I move it to Bitcoin at 6 a.m. and then I move it to Dogecoin at 6 p.m. and then I move it to something else. Like if I take the same dollar and I move it 5 times, does that count as $5? Surely there's not $80 trillion.
Yeah, no, I think so. If you're moving around like that, yes.
Yeah. So like if your AI program like fucking like pinged it 100 times a second for an entire day, it would be like, 5 million.
Yeah. My point being is that I was shocked at just the amount of volume of money that's moved around, and I don't even know.
I'm still it's still surprising the number.
I'm still
trying to
shocking amount of money in 24 hours.
Oh yeah.
And so I just thought that was really interesting. It just kind of put a little bit of perspective in me, like how big this actually is. Like I know like crypto is big, but like 80 trillion moved through this one exchange in the last 24 hours. Like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Like that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
So I just thought that was really interesting and cool. And then kind of as a side tidbit, we are preparing for the Rolex 24 and kind of gathering plans together for that. So that'll be a lot of fun. We're figuring out a podcast protocol for that weekend as well. We'll see.
Dude, I think it would be cool to record like in the car at the Rolex.
Yeah, I think we could do that.
Oh fuck! If
We could do it on the flare.
we could do it in the tower somewhere.
Oh yeah, we both have power tickets now.
Are there quiet parts there that we can record? Can we record in there?
Well, I mean, always in the evening it's quiet at some point.
That would be so sick.
That would
We
be
could do it at the fucking Rolex. I want to take a lot of video while we're there to stitch together to overlay.
If the
while we
weather's good and it's
record.
not too windy, we could always do it on the like rooftop too with our little lav mics too, if we can't find a quiet spot, because usually the stands by the finish line are quiet right
You
there.
don't think it'll be too loud with the cars?
Oh yeah, I forgot about the cars.
But you know, the second floor with all those windows, we could set up a camera so you could see the cars racing behind us
I think
while recording.
that's the move. If it's not too bright and we're not, we'll figure it out.
It says we can't bring tripods online.
That's bullshit. I'm bringing a tripod.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think it'd be.
I do every year.
I think I'm gonna make a note. I'll bring my GoPro. I want to take a lot of video this year and photos and stuff. You normally take a lot of photos, but video like vlog style, to overlay onto the video.
Yeah, I do take a lot of video too because I have a phone mount that goes on top of my camera. And
Yeah,
I just let it roll, but I just never like look at the video. Like I probably have 200 videos from last year, and I never even
what we can do is while we record it, or when we're done recording it, we can go back and like pick the moments and be like, okay, let's go find the footage. I know it's on Sanders' phone, something like that.
Yeah.
I think that would be cool.
I think it would be cool too. We can sort that out. I think the
Yeah.
audience would like that, so
Yeah.
it'd be fun.
I got a tower ticket last second.
Yeah,
Unexpected money of $900 all at once. $957
and 33 cents.
and 33 cents. It's all at once that I have to make happen. So my strategy is to file my tax return. And you have from the beginning of the year until like April 5th or something to file your taxes. Everyone always thinks tax season is April, but that's just the fucking deadline. So everyone waits to the last fucking second to file their taxes, and then it takes you a month and a half to get your return because the IRS is suddenly inundated with a bunch of shit.
Yeah,
I'm going to file my tax return tomorrow so that I get my money in the next week, and then I have my tax return early, and yeah, I can actually use it.
Yeah.
But that's the strategy for me getting that money to you.
cool. Works for me.
Aposematic. Aposematic is a trait that an animal has when they're bright colors to try to ward off enemies. Like a frog is aposematic when they're brightly colored, like poison dart frogs. I couldn't remember that like 3 episodes ago. I just remembered in the bathroom what it was.
I just spent the last 10 seconds trying to figure out how that was relevant.
Yeah.
But
Dude, 3 episodes. Go back and find it. 3 episodes ago, I was like, what is it when an animal is like brightly colored, the toxic? I can't remember. Aposematic. That's what it's called. I have a quick note to make. I forgot. I was going to mention this when I talked about the rowing stuff, but I'm trying to go to the gym more, and I track.
Me too.
I track in the Google Sheet how many days a week I go.
Mhm.
I'm also now tracking.
I saw that you shared the most recent one with me. I think you shared a new version of it or an updated. You
might-
maybe updated it.
I updated it. Now I'm tracking how many calories I burn a day and how many calories I eat a day. And I've done that less frequently because I haven't done the macro factor.
I was gonna start wearing my Apple Watch, but then I saw a Tristan Tate podcast,
Uh-huh.
and he was like, "The Apple Watch is the most nerdy shit I've ever seen." I was like, "I can't put on my fucking Apple Watch anymore. God damn it!"
I mean, if it helps you track, if it helps you stay in shape, then
I know. It was more of like a, yeah, like that kind of like a joking, like, "God, dude."
It's just
Exactly.
peer pressure, but from the internet.
I probably honestly will wear it for the days I'm going to the gym, because when I did wear it to the gym, it was really useful for that. 'Cause you can put it in a workout mode, and it's awesome. I love it.
Yeah, dude. I mean, that's why I wear the Whoop, is just to track my fitness.
But props to Mason for getting me this watch. I don't think I've talked about it on the podcast yet, but I have worn it every single day after I got it adjusted, aside from I think 4 days.
Even racing?
I wore it on my racing days, but I took it off when I was in the cart.
That's good. If
Yeah.
you get in a crash, it's gonna get all fucked up. I
Yeah.
don't know if we can get another one. Set it up. I don't know.
Yeah, they are really hard to get. It's one of 125 in the world. I have number 71, and Mason incredibly acquired one for me.
Nice.
So I'm very thankful for it, and I wear it every day, and I keep it wound up when I can't put it on the little thing. I figured I read the manual, and you can wind it up by hand. I figured I'd do that. So but actually, it was funny. Earlier in the podcast, you said today was January 11th, and I looked at my watch, and it was the 12th, and I was like, I know my watch is right, but I'm not going to correct it.
Dude, I'm all over the place with my days. I know what day of the week it is because it's push day today. So I'm working out more frequently. So I track in a Google spreadsheet. And I've been really shitty. Over the summer, I got really bad about working out. So in August, I worked out 26% of the days. So like 1 out of every 4 days I'd work out. September, I got a little better with 33%. October was 35%. November was 35%. So the same through October and November. And October and November, got tricky for me. So the fact that I was able to stay consistent is good because I didn't like slip back into the lower 30s. And then December was 48%, and so far in January I'm at 54%. So I'm from August to now I'm on an incline, which is great.
Cool.
And also Whoop does a year wrapped like Spotify does.
You sent me
Fuck, bro, dude.
That was so funny.
Yeah. So of my recovery is really 41% of the time you did not get quite enough sleep to get by. That's not like you could do with a little more sleep. That's 41% of the time you should not be functioning. So 12 times I slept well, like really well. 37 times I was pretty good. 89 times I barely got by. 97 times it's unacceptable. Whoop deems my sleep schedule unacceptable. So my average sleep performance, they track performance and recovery differently, but generally they track how well are you sleeping. So like, you know, when you fall asleep, how fast do you fall asleep, and are you doing it enough? Last year I had a 72% grade on my sleep performance. This year I'm at 73%.
Let's go.
So I'm improving. But dude,
by the time you're in your 50s, you will have 100% fit.
So the workout routine is getting better. I'm happy with it. I'm happy to be back in the gym. I'm starting to do the weights that I was able to do in the front half of the year again, which is cool. But I want to try to sleep better. But I made it a goal like 2 or 3 months ago to not eat out as much because I was spending a lot of money on fast food, just because the way I was structuring my days, I wasn't really prioritizing going home to get food. When I would meal prep, Grace and I would make 2 main meals to last both of us, and we'd run out. Now we're making 3 main meals. Usually it's 2 large ones and a smaller one because she doesn't eat a whole lot. So we're not spending much more money on groceries.
Yep.
Yesterday we got groceries. It was like $190, and that's for a whole week, which isn't bad. But
I've started eating at home more too.
Yeah.
Eating out less.
Yeah.
I don't do meal prep because I still do Factor.
Yeah.
But I do stuff that's quick. Like I'll do like yogurt and berries and nuts and stuff like that, or like stuff that's easy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The dates are a big thing for me. But I have to prep to get the protein in, because I mean you have to cook meat, right? But
Right.
I'm also eating. You eat like 1,000 to 1,500 calories a day, with the goal being 1,800, right? And I'm at like 23 to 2,600 calories a day. But it's like, you know, 40% more food. So you can't do that without eating out or meal prepping.
Yeah.
But I don't think I can remember the last time I ordered fast food. It must have been like over 2 weeks ago.
I think mine was over 2 weeks ago too. I actually got sick a little bit the day before I had to leave. And so that Saturday, I left on a Sunday.
For mass?
Yeah.
Got it.
So I felt sick on that Saturday. I stayed home almost that whole day. And I DoorDashed twice that day, and I DoorDashed a soup. And I just like on the couch on my laptop, like drinking soup and like taking medicine. I was like, I have to fucking feel better. And I did feel better by Sunday morning. And I was like, oh, it was just like a 1 day little like micro throat, you know, scratchy cold thing. And I was like, I'm gonna binge out on DoorDash, not fast food, but like DoorDash, spend a little bit extra to guarantee that I feel better tomorrow. And it worked for me, but I think that was the last time I ordered a fast food.
Yeah, I've been really good about it, which is awesome. I might break that tonight as just like celebratory, like, oh, I haven't had it in a while, so like I'll treat myself with it. But
I haven't had any kratom in like weeks now.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
You said you tried it and you didn't feel great about it?
Yeah.
Wait,
in mass.
Let me say this real quick. I saw this the other day. I didn't read the study, but I saw it. Can you guess what physical feature is directly linked to not getting sick?
What physical feature is directly linked to not getting sick?
So like big hands, big dick, you don't get sick as much.
Big balls?
It's muscle mass.
Interesting.
The more muscle mass,
I mean, that makes sense.
The less likely you are to get sick.
Well, because you probably exercise more to get more muscle mass, and I mean, you exercise more, then you're more fit, and then your immune system is better, so then you're less likely to get sick. Okay. That's my back of the hand.
Does your immune system get better if you're more physically fit? I thought they were different.
I don't know. I'm not a doctor, so don't like take this as advice. But at least in my like outside perspective, I would assume that as you are more fit, your body is more capable to battle like outside things that enter, you know, your system or whatever, because it's not worried about like why there's an extra 20% of like junk fat on you. It's more. I would assume that your body is more apt to tackle other things rather than just like sustaining you being alive, right?
Fair point.
So that'll be my guess, but like I don't know.
Yeah, I hadn't considered it at all. when I heard it, I was like, oh, dude, that's awesome. I didn't think you could improve your immune system, but like,
I would just,
I guess it makes sense.
I mean, I think it's like a similar kind of, I mean, maybe, but a similar idea to like, when people like, some people who are unfortunate enough to go blind
Yeah.
end up hearing better.
Yeah.
Because like
Your body
there's less inputs, that's true. So I would say that like because your body is less focused on like trying to make you survive throughout the day because you're so unhealthy and unfit,
Right.
it can better tackle just like the same reason that like people who are overweight or unfit were more susceptible to COVID.
Yeah.
Right. I would assume that that's kind of.
I really want to do the fat versus overweight podcast. I want to do
we haven't done that yet.
I want to do the fat versus overweight podcast. I want to do the marriage podcast because now I've got a fucking lot to say on that. Jesus Christ, dude. Anyways, tell me about your kratom drinking.
Yeah. I mean, I tried it.
We're going to the Rolex and we're bringing tea and Lolos.
I know, but I mean, I can get tea any day of the week I want from Pal.
I'm just teasing.
Yeah. But I had some, and it was nice. Like I do like the buzz of kratom. It does help me focus. I do enjoy it. But the problem is that it hurts my stomach, and it doesn't just hurt it for like an hour. It hurts for like 2 days, and I feel like minor like brain fog withdrawal-esque symptoms for those 2 to 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, it's not worth it for me to like have a little bit of kratom to take another like hour or 2 of workout when I know it's going to screw me up for 2 more days. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just like, right now it's not worth it for me. I think what I'll likely do is go a long period of time, like a month or 2 months with none of it, and then have like 1 tea. Then see how my stomach reacts, because I did give myself a good break until I like tried it again, but I don't know if it was long enough to like completely get every aspect of it out of my system, as in terms of like endorphin receptors, because the endorphin receptors that live in your gut lived there for quite a long time. I don't know if those all cleared out by the time I was trying it, even though I didn't have withdrawal symptoms at the point I retried it.
They might have all cleared out, because remember, I know a lot of people the first time they drink it, they get sick. I got like fucking scary sick the first time I tried it. Remember, I got the cold sweats and I freaked the fuck out and shit.
Yeah.
I texted you. And then Justin tried it the first time and puked. So you might have cleared it out.
It's funny. We all laughed at him when he was.
I have a photo of it.
That was so funny. He was thrown up in the fucking parking lot.
But you've got, yeah, he made it all the way back to the HSDC and then puked in the grass there. I don't know how the fuck, but like you might have gotten it all cleared out, and then it's like your first drink back is like your first drink ever, and your body's like, what is this? Like, we forgot what this is. So maybe you are clear of it, and it takes like 2 or 3 drinks to get.
I don't know. It was just interesting, but I just wanted to mention it. But sorry I interrupted you. I completely forgot where you were at.
No, I asked you what your kratom drinking was.
Oh yeah, that's where I'm at with that.
Awesome. What about the Zins?
The Zins, I'm just sticking around 3 milligrams. Like there are hours where I'll go without it, and then I'm like, I kind of want it, and here and there. Like that's not a forefront of my concern right now. Now that I've dialed back to an amount that I feel like I can put down if I want to, or pick back up if I want to. I do it every day, but there were periods during the break where I didn't have it for like half a day.
Right.
And like I was fine. Like I had a slight headache, but like it was nothing to debilitate me. So I'm like, I'm much more happy doing like passive 3 milligrams when I want to, or at least feel like when I want to, than doing like 9 milligram stuff and like going through a pack a day and also worrying about it if I don't have it. You know what I mean? Like that's a much better frame of mind. So I'm happy with that right now. Yeah. I'm not too concerned with it. I do like it because it does help me focus, and I do like the feeling. Also, I think like half the thing for me, honestly, I think if Zyn made a nicotine pack that was just menthol flavored, like I would do that, because I just love the fucking like menthol taste that they have.
Like no nicotine, just menthol.
No nicotine. Like I honestly just like the cooling menthol feeling of the little packet.
Just eat toothpaste.
Oh, I know. I think that's like half the thing for me, is like when I don't have it in, I'm like, I want mint.
Not just dirty,
right? Which kind of makes sense, because I've always loved those Lifesaver mints too. Like, I love those things, but they're like not good for you. So
are they really?
Yeah, I heard.
I know.
I think Sarah
like Vin. Those are good. Okay, now so the kratom addiction's under control. Nicotine addiction's under control. What about your porn addiction? Are you upset that Pornhub's banned in Florida now?
I am not.
Dude, fine. Greg texted me the morning it happened, and he was like, "What do we do?" It's like, you got to download a VPN. And he was like, listen, we're going to make it through all right. When I was a kid and like we didn't even have this shit, we had to like get VHS tapes and stuff, and we made it work, so we're going to be okay. And I was like, all right. He brought it up like 3 times the week before. He was like, so next week's the week. And I was like, what? And he was like, random Pornhub. I was like, dude, so fucking funny, man. He kills me.
That is so funny. I did get a VPN, not for porn, but because another Facebook thing that you'll love to hear about Meta is that the Facebook ads library, at anywhere between 10 minutes of searching through it or 3 hours of searching through it, will deem you as a robot and will block you for that entire day of searching anymore.
Awesome.
The only ways around it are to potentially use the Brave browser, which works approximately 25% of the time,
Awesome.
or to use a VPN, which also works approximately 25% of the time. The other great aspect of the VPN I got is I have to worry about when I turn it on and when I turn it off, because there are certain sites that will not let me access, like Forex trading sites, when I'm on the VPN. So I have a good mash of technical bullshit that I have to deal with every day, which
That's
is awesome.
terrible.
I love it.
I got like a year of NordVPN for like $80 or something with their Black Friday sale. So when the porn apocalypse hit, I was covered. I was good. But
I'm using it to try and get around the robot feature of Facebook's Meta Business Manager. But
yeah, which is ironic because they have Meta structured so that you can't not sift through its shit for 3 hours without you.
Literally, the reason my ad account got blocked was because I imported the ads too quickly, and it deemed that I was trying to like avert some process that they had.
Yeah.
And so they blocked it. They said it would take 4 days. I've waited 6.
Yeah,
which is awesome.
That fucking sucks.
Yep.
I had a personal revelation over the break. Want to hear about it?
Yeah. I have
So-
a few too. That's what I wrote down while you were in the bathroom.
Okay, cool. I'll do mine first. So I like to get a big Lego set and build it over the winter break, every break, because I love Lego. I intentionally don't buy Lego with my own money throughout the year because I know that it's going to be a major expense because I love doing it so much. It's my favorite pastime, like my relaxed time. So every birthday and every Christmas growing up, my family and friends would get me Lego. I love it dearly. I enjoy and look forward to my birthday and Christmas because of this. So, you know, I think like 2 or 3 years ago, my family got me the Death Star, and I have a core memory of building the Death Star at my desk at my parents' house while watching The Office on Netflix with the window open. So it's like cold. I'm building Lego. It's like nighttime, and I've got like fucking 6 bags ahead of like a ton of Lego ahead of me, and I just love the feeling. So this year, most of my family got me money, and Grace got me the Lego Jaws set. So I built the Jaws set while she was out of town, and then we went to the Lego store with like $600, and I bought a big UCS Ultimate Collector Series Lego Star Wars set. And I really enjoyed building it. I loved it, and I was like, man, dude, it sucks that I only get this once a year because these sets are so expensive. I really would love to do this more frequently. And like, cause you know, October and December aren't that far away, but like now I'm waiting till October to build more Lego again, which kind of, though I do like doing it in the cold. But while I build these sets, I watch Netflix, right? Oh, also another like pipe dream that I have is, recently I found these guys who have a podcast on YouTube, called This or That Star Wars. And they talk about Star Wars theories, and they talk about, Lego Star Wars and their opinions on sets and their opinions of like, should Lego remake the same model multiple times and update it and stuff like that. But it's all dudes who are like in their early 20s who now have adult jobs and can pay for Lego on their own and grew up loving Star Wars and Lego Star Wars. One of the guys like just recently got back into it in 2023, but it's all dudes that I can relate to on like everything. Cause all the friends I had growing up who liked Lego Star Wars have just fallen out of the hobby and like aren't into it anymore.
Yeah.
And a lot of the guys are like, you know, these guys are fucking awesome, and they have a Discord community for Lego Star Wars. So I joined the Discord, and now there's like this huge community of people. If I ever have a moment of downtime, I now find myself, instead of going to TikTok, I go to this Discord and I like type messages to these other people and like get to know them and like look at Lego leaks together and stuff. And it's really exciting. I really love it. But I wanted to give those guys a shout out because This or That Star Wars rock. I don't think they know I have my own channel, but I also found this kid in my TikTok reels. He came up. He's like 13 years old. I forget his name. I wrote it down, not on my sheet. But he's like 13 years old, and he's got these like little Lego builds that he does with the spare pieces from sets. And he's like, this is what I built today. And he walks you through. He's like, this clone commander is like, you know, like telling this guy that he needs to go out and like, hey, this is the battle. And it reminds me, it's like a perfect nostalgia hit of the type of like playing that I would do with my Legos when I was a kid. If I had an iPhone when I was 13 years old, those are the videos that I would do. And I so badly want to have the money to buy a fucking badass set to send to him to build, to watch him on TikTok, like, you know, open the box and like do an unboxing and like the build and stuff. I think he'd love it. And so as I get more money, I want to pick like younger, like, you know, Lego fans online to like send them stuff. Cause dude, if I got a massive UCS set sent to me when I was a kid, I would lose my fucking shit. I'd be so excited. And like adults don't feel that same way. So like if I sent one of the guys from this or that a big set, they'd be excited, but not the same way a 13-year-old would be, you know?
Yeah.
So that's a new flavor of charity that I want to look into as I start to get money. But as I build these sets, I watch recently I've gotten really into, like recently the past 5 years, Netflix sports documentaries. So like I've told you about the Last Dance with Michael Jordan and the basketball team. This year, I was trying to pick which one to watch, and they have an entire series about the sport of polo. Are you familiar?
Mm-hmm.
The guys who ride horses with the sticks.
Yep.
Super gay, right? So I was like, fuck, that's ridiculous. There's no way I'm watching that. And then I thought about it, and I was like, why is it ridiculous? Is it because it's horses, or is it because all the guys are rich, or is it because none of them are very athletic? I'm done passing judgment. I'm going to watch this series. So I watched the series. I still think it's kind of gay, but I have a new appreciation for the sport because they in the series they focused on the storylines, and some of the storylines is like there's this guy who has a ton of money and he got into polo because he wants to flex on people, right? And he's really bad at it. So I like laughing at him because he's an idiot and thinks that he needs to be good at polo to be liked, and he's not, so he sucks. I like watching that, but also the greatest in the sport, like the Michael Schumacher of polo, has a kid who's also now competing at the highest level in polo and is the second greatest player of all time.
Oh,
It's a
wow.
father-son duo. So they've entered all these tournaments and like won everything together. And the year this season took place, it's the first year that they're not playing on the same team. So they were playing against each other. And like there was this really heated battle throughout the entire tournament up until the very end where they go behind the scenes and looking at the strategy that the dad and his team of older guys has against the son and his like younger team. And it was really, really captivating to watch because they are athletes. And it's interesting because the way that their physique is built, they don't strike you as athletes. Like they're not built, like they're not jacked, right? They're very nimble and lean. But if a horse is running around with you, you can't be super heavy because that's like how weight works in racing, right?
Yeah.
And also to hit the ball, you've got to lean down off this horse with this big ass long bamboo stick to hit the ball. And then you have to hit it accurately. Their field size is 9 football fields. So it's a big fucking field you got to hit this ball around at, right? So I have a new appreciation for how difficult the sport actually is.
Wow.
And some of the dudes who do it are still douchebags. But in the same revelation I've had about Ferrari, where a lot of Ferrari owners are douchebags, I still have a love for the car. So now I have a love for polo. So after I watched polo, I watched this other documentary on the Tour de France. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
Well, it's a bicycle race.
Yep.
Right. It's I don't remember how many miles it is, but it's hundreds, multiple days long.
Yep.
Really like prestige, event. That's about all I know about it.
It's fucking insanity. It's fucking insanity. They race every day for 3 weeks straight, 21 days straight.
Wow.
It's not a team where different guys race on. You get on a bicycle every day for 21 days and do every mile. But you race for a team of like 5 other guys. So there's like 5 other guys who wear the same colors as you, right? And the way that it works is in a race, there's some that go up mountains. There's some that go down mountains. There's some that go over cobblestone paths. They're all long as fuck, right? And the way that it works is the teams, they have different members of the team for different things. So they have climbers, so like guys who are really good at climbing, and they have sprinters. Fucking guess, right?
Yeah.
So for the climbing ones, they'll be like, all right, team, the sprinters and the long distance guys, fucking take your time. Don't worry about it. We're going to have our climber specialist guy actually go like race the race. You guys just get through it. Take all the time you need, just get through it, and then save your energy for tomorrow because tomorrow's a sprint race, right? So then the climber fucking kills himself trying to get up. And then the next day is a sprint race. So the climber guy just hangs out in the back of the pack. There's a wind buffer around a big group of cyclists. So if you're in the middle of the pack, you're just kind of cruising, you're chilling.
Yeah.
But in some of the races, what they'll do is they'll have every member of the team surround their one sprinter guy. And the rest of the team is creating a wind buffer for him to try to get him to the front of the pack to give him the best chance for the last 500 meters where they all get out of the way and the sprinters fucking go for it. So they're trying to make it as easy for the sprinter to make it through the entire race for him to sprint the last 500 meters. It's so fucking captivating. They go so fucking fast. The fastest I've been on a bicycle, I went biking in the mountains of Georgia like 3 years ago. And it was my first time using the clip-in shoes where you're connected to the pedals.
Yep.
So I'm already kind of freaking out because I can't like just get off the bike, right?
Right.
You have to twist your ankle and fucking break it to get it out of the pedal. And we were climbing up, up, up. It took forever. It fucking sucked. The way down, I went 38 miles an hour and it was fucking terrifying,
that is
right?
quick.
That is not a crazy speed for these Tour de France guys. There's this one guy, I didn't write his name down. I fucking should have, but he comes from the mountain biking world. But they had him on the team for the sole purpose of descents. So they'll do an entire race through an entire day up to the top of the mountain. And then the next day, it's a race down the mountain, right? So you're using gravity pretty much the whole time, right? It's like racing cars, but on a fucking 6-pound bicycle. It's fucking insane. They go like 65 miles an hour downhill, like hill climb type shit. Like, do you remember the Gymkhana video where he like the back wheel goes off the edge, no guardrail? They do that at 65 miles an hour on a fucking bicycle, overtaking other people. And they have this dude on the team because he started off in the back of the pack because he had set a shitty time the day before because this is all he's good at. But he is throwing dive bomb after dive bomb after dive bomb. He's going, the tires are this fucking skinny. He's going incredible speeds down this mountain, passing everybody. It fucking, dude, it shocked me. The entire documentary is just so captivating. It drove me fucking insane. I loved it so much. And what I realized from these two documentaries is that I'm not really, like every athlete can say that their sport is the hardest, right? And they are biased towards it and other sports are dumb, right? So like racing is the best because there's a clear winner or loser, and football's stupid because there's all these rules and like, you know, it's up to the referee sometimes and shit, right? But what I learned from watching these documentaries is that I'm not actually just a fan of like one sport or another. I just like athletics in general.
Yeah.
Like I can watch any of these sports, and if I'm interested in this story, like the plot line that's happening, I can appreciate it.
Yeah.
And so it really opened my eyes to how much I love sports. So I went into my Google Calendar and I added the US Open polo tournament to my calendar to watch. I put Le Mans in there, which I usually do.
Yep.
I put the Tour de France in there, a lot of rowing stuff. I found the basketball NBA finals to add in there, the Super Bowl's in there. So I just want to start watching and appreciating more like upper echelon level sports. Because what I love more than most other things is watching the best of their class perform at the highest level.
Yeah. The Le Mans I'll put on every year on a spare monitor and just let it roll for the 24 hours.
Now I have a spare monitor to do it.
Yes, you do.
But I'm really interested. I'm excited for this year because I'm getting more interested in these things.
Yeah.
But
We should watch some of the Le Mans together. That'd be fun too.
Yeah, I do.
Do a stream.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I know it's like Ford always does a stream. Toyota will always do a stream. But I wonder if I don't know if IMSA will do a stream.
I don't know.
I don't know if IMSA's over there to document it, but I'm sure there obviously will be a channel that documents it.
Yeah. My final point on this topic is that you think your sport is the toughest, but to be a fan of athletics, you appreciate the different kinds of challenges. So like you can compare between apples and oranges, but they're both fruit. And I think I can appreciate a sport like biking more so than a sport like polo because I can only detect how close you are to the limit based on firsthand experience. So when I watch a biker go on a descent at 65 miles an hour, I know how difficult it is to keep traction because I've crashed my bike out trying to go fast speeds before.
Yeah.
Right. I appreciate Formula One because I've been karting and I know how difficult it is to get a rental cart around a track, let alone a Formula One car.
Yeah.
I appreciate rowing because I know exactly how close to the limit these rowers are every stroke because I've done it. Right. I have not previously appreciated football or polo or tennis because of my negligence, because I've never done the sport. So I don't know how actually difficult it is for them to do that or how close to the limit they are. But in watching these documentaries, I can see everyone across the top level of varying ranges of expertise and excellence and see how close they are to the limit. And that gives me a better appreciation. And it kind of goes back to my idea of like, you can have professional, like I can watch the same rowing boat as a total layman. And we're watching the same boat go down the course. And you only can tell how good they're doing based on your personal knowledge and experience with the sport. And that gives me an extra appreciation for sports I know nothing about because I am now aware that these are professional athletes operating at the highest level, and I'm negligent for not knowing how close to that they are, you know? So it was a really cool realization I had.
Very cool.
Yeah. So anyways, that's the big like takeaway, like big revelation I had over the winter break. And it's mostly about like stuff I like, not even like personal growth, but
Yeah, no, it's all all cool and dandy. That's why we're doing this.
I guess it's kind of like personal growth because it's like recognizing when you don't even know what you don't know. You know. Okay, what's your shit?
So I have 3 more things. I think I've gone through pretty much everything in general terms that I've gone through at the break.
I'm in a rush.
Yeah, pretty much. But I wanted to note that the Alex Hormozy 2024 wrap-up podcast is really good. If you haven't heard it yet,
I haven't listened.
It's really good, really good.
What's he talking about?
Just like what he did to grow in 2024, what his plans are for 2025, stuff like that. And then he has another one as well that I forget what it's called, but I think it's right after it. That's also really good. Anyways, I just wanted to kind of throw in a couple things that he talked about that helped me personally. One of them was focus, like specifically learning how to focus, cut things out of your life that are not pertaining to your goal. And then really when you go to work, like actually go to work and work on that thing. One of the things he mentioned that I implemented is having a timer on your desk. Just like a basic, I bought mine $3 on Amazon.
Yeah.
It's a little timer. You hit start when you start working, and every time you get distracted by anything, you stop it.
Yeah.
And then you can actually see how much time you work. For me personally, I've been using the timer for a few days now because I just got it in the mail. For me personally, a majority of the time that I sit down to work on my laptop, I do work on my laptop. That is not necessarily true for when I go to Pauhana, which is part of the reason why I've been sticking at home more.
Yeah.
Is because when I sit on my laptop at home, like if I spend an hour working on my laptop,
it's like 50.
Usually about like 55 minutes of that will be like actually working on my laptop, trying to solve a problem or trying to figure something out or doing something.
Yeah.
So usually my percentage is relatively good at home, but not as good when I'm out and about, which is kind of why when I've even gone to Pauhana recently, I don't even bring my laptop. And the reason I do that is it prevents me from working, which sounds counterintuitive, but because my mind constantly wants to work, it forces me to go back home earlier to do that work because I literally cannot do it there.
Right.
Additionally, because I don't then bring the laptop and I can't work there and I want to work, obviously I spend less time there, but also when I brought my laptop, I would always pull it out to try and do something. But my percentage of actual work time works when I'm at Pauhana is much lower than when I'm at home.
Right.
And so I, force myself to go back home to work where I know I can be more productive. And then B, I don't give my brain the opportunity to trick me into thinking that I'm being productive when I know that I could be more productive at home.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Sort of. But those are a couple things I started doing that really helped me out. I just wanted to share them on the podcast with you and anyone listening.
Grace has that problem because so many people know her from Kraken.
Yeah.
So like she'll be working at either bar and someone will come up and start talking to her and we'll go home and she'll be like, dude, that fucking sucked. Cause like people just kept coming up and like being conversational with
That's
me.
what was happening with me. Like all the time.
And I get that.
Especially when I was teleworking a lot for those couple months and I was there like every day, like people really started to get to know me and I was like, fuck.
Yeah, she has that same problem, even with her headphones on. Like people will come over and bother her. It happens less when she's sitting with me, and it's because it doesn't happen to me like hardly at all. Like Omar will stop by and say hello, and it's like a handshake and a tip my cap, and then I'm back to it. So most of the conversations that I get into are like voluntary, but sometimes bartenders apparently they've been told by upper management to talk to somebody even if they have headphones in and look like they're working, because some customers or a large portion of customers, they say, want to seem busy but really want to talk to you. They just want you to think that they're busy. So they tell the bartenders, talk to people anyways.
That's interesting.
Yeah, because most people want to seem busier than they really are. So they'll be like, oh, I can't talk right now. Really, I have too much going on. And then they'll be like, oh, what are you working on? And they'll be like, well, let me tell you. And then they want to talk about themselves.
Got it.
I think pretty much all the bartenders have figured out that that's not.
That sounds like girl math to me, but.
It is girl math. It exactly is. I think most of the bartenders have figured that out with me. So it's like when the headphones are, it says it on the back of my shirt, when the headphones on, I'm dialed in, talk to me later. But they don't do that with most people. And I didn't know that was a direct order, but that's a direct order from what I've heard. Indirect.
Interesting. But anyways, those are a couple things I wanted to share in that sense. And then additionally, something that Alex and Rosie mentioned in one of the 2 podcasts I listened to was like, what are you willing to sacrifice in order to meet your goals? And I thought like I'd heard it before, but like the way he phrased it and the way he put it, or just like hearing it for the 10th time now, it really sank in for me. And so I've been really thinking about like what I am willing to sacrifice. And it's like when I go through the list of stuff that I'd be willing to sacrifice, like it's a lot. Like it's pretty much everything besides a laptop and a Wi-Fi connection.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I don't know, something just clicked in me in the past like month or so ish. And it's like, just because I don't want to sacrifice it doesn't mean I wouldn't be willing to sacrifice it. Right. Like I don't want to sell all my cars.
Right.
But if that was my last resort opportunity to make it, I would.
Yeah.
Would I be happy about it? Absolutely not. But would I do it to meet this dream? Yes.
Yeah.
So I thought that was just an interesting like little tidbit. I highly recommend those podcasts. And I just wanted to share those few little things that were kind of revelations I had within the last weeks since our last podcast. But for everyone listening, actually, it seems as though we're right on track because podcasts have been released. But
Yeah.
it's
We
been a few weeks
like
into
4 weeks.
yeah, since we recorded.
Yeah.
So, but that is pretty much all I have. Just working on the dropshipping stuff. I'm really excited to get my ads going. I'm really hoping that I can get some hits. Even if it's a complete flop, I'm still really excited to release the stuff and get it out there and like see how it goes. You know, I've been really trying to embody the perspective of the only time you fail is when you stop trying. Like if you just do not quit, you will not fail. You know what I mean? And so I've really embodied that in this journey, which helps me get through the absolutely atrocious hours of trying to figure out Facebook Business Manager.
Yeah.
It's like I sit down and I try to figure out what the fuck's going on and why this ad account isn't linking and why I'm blocked from it and blah, blah, blah. And I sit down and I'm like, this is why not everyone gets through it. And if I can get through this one day, that's what increases my probability of being successful. Like that's how I try to think about it, to just get myself mentally through that part of it. Cause I fucking hate screwing with Meta. I hate it so much.
Yeah.
But that's pretty much an update for me. That's what I got.
Cool.
So,
I don't know how much I have left either. There's like a couple odds and ends, but none of
Yeah.
them are like super relevant. One that I learned about, actually, it's about real estate, but I don't need a license to do it, and that's wholesaling. So you can put a house under contract and accept the contract, and then so you're an old person and you need to sell your house because you're going into like hospice or an old folks home or something, right? I'll buy it from you contingent that I find someone else to actually pay the money to get it, right? So it's kind of like the title goes in my name, but I'm allocating a buyer. So what they'll do is you're old, you're 75, you bought your house in 1940, and you think that so I know a guy who knows a guy who does this, and he takes advantage of old people, but for the sake of it, this is how it works. He'll find an old person who's going into hospice, they have dementia or whatever, they think they live in the 1940s, and he'll tell them, hey, listen, your house is probably worth like $100 grand. It's a $500,000 home. So they'll go, awesome, I'll sell it to you for $100 grand, and I can use that money for my medical bills to live in hospice in the old folks home. He'll go, awesome. So he'll take the title, he'll go to BlackRock, they'll pay $600,000 for it, and then he'll give that person the $100,000, he'll give BlackRock the title, then he pockets $500K.
Wow.
And you don't need a real estate license to do that.
Yeah.
So the guy that my guy knows,
That's a shitty thing to do.
it's a shitty thing to do.
Yeah.
The guy that my guy knows does this, and they have stopped like communicating entirely. They've stopped talking about it because this guy does it. And he's like, for a real estate agent, I mean, morally it's fucked, but for a real estate agent, that destroys your reputation. But this dude doesn't have a real estate license. He just does the wholesaling and takes advantage of old people. And I thought that was an interesting concept.
There's one place in America that's got a lot of old people. It's Florida, baby.
Dude, yeah. And I told Grace, I was like, that's super fucked. And she was like, yeah. And then the next day, I was driving in traffic, and I was like, I fucking hate old people. She was like, we should start wholesaling. It's like, honestly, you know, with the amount of fucking creepy old dudes that hit on Grace, I'll just target those guys, and then I'll fucking scam them out of their own money. But no, just jokes. But I thought it was an interesting system of sales. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the only other thing I had was I've been seeing a lot of stuff. Do you know Tim Kennedy? Have you seen him on like Modern Wisdom or Rogan?
I feel like I have, but
He's like a military dude. He's like he was a Green Beret who went to like
yeah.
Afghanistan.
Was he on God, what's the podcast with the
Sean Ryan.
Sean Ryan?
Yeah, he was on Sean Ryan. He wrote a book that like it's called Scars and Stripes, and it like details his military history. It's written like a movie script. It's written crazy, but it's supposed to be all true. But there's some guys out there on, they have the podcast called the Antihero Podcast. And they went through his book page by page and found all the errors, wrote out all the errors in it and inconsistencies. Like in one, he says he throws like 50 grenades or something, and they calculate that would be like 300 pounds. And there's no way you're carrying a 300-pound backpack of grenades. And so they went out and they found his team members and his like commanding officer And they interviewed them and was like, is any of this true? And they were like, none of that's true. What the fuck? He doesn't even have like those awards. So it's like actual stolen valor. And so Tim Kennedy released a video. It's like a 5-minute video setting the record straight. And he's like, apparently there's these guys online who are like, they say that they talk to guys on my team, but like the guys on my team wouldn't talk to them. I mentioned them. They were like, yeah, no, we're not talking to them. So like, it's just not true. Like a lot of the stuff, I misspoke on this one thing, but the other thing, that's not true. Like, just don't listen to it. Like, he was very dismissive of all of it. So they came out with another podcast where they interviewed all the members of his team on camera and like exposed all his shit. And apparently it's unleashing like a firestorm because like Joe Rogan's buddy was with this guy, Sean Ryan's buddies with this guy, Chris Williamson's buddy was with these guy because he portrays himself as like an American hero. And that's everything that he wrote in his book. And if you don't know anything about the military, you would be like, oh, wow, thanks for your service. Like, this is great stuff that you're telling me. But then the actual guys on his team are like, he's making half that shit up. He's not as proficient as he says he is. He's lying about all these things. It's not true at all. He doesn't have the Bronze Star with Valor Award. He doesn't have a Purple Heart. He's just telling you that he does, right? He says that in this episode, he was like covered in the blood of his enemies, but I have a photo from that day. Here it is. And he's like wearing his whites. It's clean. And it's just all bullshit. So,
Wow.
yeah, it sucks.
That blows, man, because a lot of those guys are telling the truth.
Yeah.
And a lot of those guys like really did commit, either their whole life or a part of their life to serve this country. And it really blows, to put it lightly, when people go out there and try to steal that and just do it selfishly.
Yeah.
It really fucking sucks because I have an extremely high level of respect for those guys who really either give some or give all to serve this country. And
Yeah. And what sucks is that the dudes on his team, they were like, what really sucks about this story that he's writing is that combat mission we went on was really impressive. It was a really crazy story. It was the largest military convoy that we went to resupply like a remote base in Afghanistan. Like, it was an impressive story to begin with, but he couldn't just take the impressive story for what it was. He had to ham it up with like 50 grenades and like, being rogue and yelling at his commanding officer and like shooting like, the 25 different like enemies from the tower of the tiny base that we were at. Like, he had to ham it up with all this fake shit when he could have just told the real story and had it been impressive. And one of the guys on his team on the podcast, he was like, it's funny. I was telling my wife about, I'm going to come on the podcast and expose my teammate. And I'm telling my wife about this trip that we went on. And she was like, wow, that's a really impressive story. Like, I didn't even know that you were on this combat mission. And he was like, yeah, well, you think it's an impressive story. He apparently didn't, because he had to spice it all up with all these like bells and whistles, But the reason you didn't hear about it is because a lot of special forces guys are professionals. Like, they operate in silence, right? So it's like, I'll go out and I'll do this combat mission, and then I don't feel the need to tell the world about it. But Tim Kennedy comes back and he writes this fucking book like it's a movie script, and is like, maybe trying to sell the rights to it to try to make a movie or something like that. And it's fucking so dishonorable that he's not actually coming forward about it. So I thought it was crazy because there's a lot of people who are like super pro Tim Kennedy, like Rogan and Chris Williamson. And it's crazy because I look up to Rogan and Chris Williamson as like smart people who can tell what's going on. But it's crazy when you don't know anything about the military to just believe people at their word. And Tim Kennedy's word is bullshit. So I wanted to share that just to raise awareness.
Yeah.
Use the 30 people that are going to watch this video to fucking further spread it. Check out the Anti-Hero podcast and fuck Tim Kennedy.
That is wild.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's the last thing I had. I have a dial-in quote for today. I didn't even really know what we were going to talk about because I knew it was going to be an update, but I didn't have anything in specific. So the dial-in quote that I have is kind of symbolic of where I'm at with my career in a snapshot of like moving from 2024 to 2025.
A New Year's resolution?
Not quite. Close. But it's more so I really hate the job that I have. And I was talking to one of the girls that we just hired to start coaching at Space Coast. And we were in the launch together, and she was like, oh, you told me that you're doing real estate. How's that going? And I was like, I'm just taking the course, but it really sucks. And she was like, yeah, but you're personable, so I think that you'll enjoy it once you get there. Like, it'll be worth it once you get there. And I was like, yeah, I mean, it can't be any worse than what I'm doing now because I'm fucking locked in a box all day. Like, I go to work every day to work with the same 10 people for 9 hours a day in a room with no windows, working on like, shit that I can't talk about with my friends or family. And it really sucks. I'm really unhappy. I think anyone would be. And she was like, I wouldn't be. And I was like, oh, and I kind of thought to myself, this is the position that most people would be happy
Yeah.
in, like
Yeah.
working with the same people every day.
I told a couple of people that I met just nonchalantly up in Massachusetts, though, like, "Oh, I'm an engineer for NASA," and their eyes were like, "Oh my god," you know.
Yeah.
For me, it's like if you knew,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It's like if you only knew,
How
you know.
fucking boring it is.
Yeah.
And how like
Yeah.
isolated it is. But that's what some people look for. Like some people want that isolated lifestyle. And I've come to realize that it's a good job that pays well and it's consistent and it's what most people would dream of. Like most people want the boredom because it's consistency and they like that and it's solid.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't fit with me. I need to be more personable. I have to talk to more people. I want to see fucking sunlight, you know. And I
I want to
look
do
at
something that
people-
creates like meaningful change.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
I want to do something. I
I
mean,
mean, I think the fastest vehicle to do that is to get independently wealthy so that you can invest the things that create change.
yeah. And I
know?
think that what I'm doing is making change. It's just I mean, like I know it's making change because I can see it happen like in the DoD,
Right.
but it's just not I'm not gaining new skills that are interesting to me that
Yep.
I can use independently. I'm not making enough money and I'm confined to a specific environment, which I don't like. And so I'm really looking forward to real estate with working with a larger number of people. Like everyone who I talk to about real estate, they're like, "Oh, dude, I know a guy. I'll put you in touch with him." And like that phrase, I really love. Like, I know a guy. Let me put you in touch with him. That's my fucking favorite thing to hear. And that's why I'm doing this contacts list because I told Grace this. I was like, so on our podcast, Everett said some wild fucking shit, right?
Mhm.
But when I say the word Everett to Grace, the first thing she thinks about with him is that he introduced her to her mom, or Everett introduced Grace to his mom. And she has proved to be a great resource for Grace to help her into real estate, right?
Yeah.
So the first thing she thinks about with Everett is what he helped her with, not the fact that one time he was like, dude, what if like we made a GTA video game but where you can hit women, right? Like, not that.
Yeah.
And it's the good thing. So what I realized is I can help someone move. I can help someone move from one apartment to the other. I can give 10 hours of my day and bust my ass and break my back to help them move. But 6 months later, they'll have forgotten about that and it won't be a major milestone for them, even though I put in a ton of effort. But if I can connect someone with a person that can help further their career, they will forever be grateful and forever remember me for that. I have to really fuck up in order to scourge that
Yeah.
recognition, right?
Mm.
Because they'll be like, "Oh, you introduced me. You opened this new door that I didn't even know existed. Thank you." And
Yeah.
it's the best return on your investment because all I'm doing is sending you a contact and a good word, right?
Right.
But it shows the power of how far reputation can go. And that's part of the reason that I'm doing this contact list because if you want to contact, if you're like, "Oh, I got to talk to somebody," I want to send you all of their information and contact photo, links to their social media and stuff like that. But that gets me excited. And the contacts list is a really great physical representation of the other side of it's like sales versus desk job engineering, right? And the level of excitement I get for sales and the wholesaling conversation with the guy the other day and talking to Grace about the Fair Housing Act, like even the Fair Housing Act discussion is more interesting than a lot of the like military discussions I have at work.
Yeah.
But it just recently has really settled in and highlighted to me just how I don't really fit at work. I don't like it.
Me neither.
Especially coming back after winter break. My first day back, I was like, God, fuck, I'm going to work until 3 a.m. tonight doing the real estate course because I just want out. This is just, it's killing me.
Yeah.
So my quote is a Hormozy quote. "A lion cub born to a family of gazelles always feels out of place. Bad at hiding, bad at grazing, bad at gazelling. Only when it leaves, it realizes it has claws, it has teeth, and it can kill anything. There's nothing wrong with you for not fitting in. Lions aren't meant to eat grass." And so this is my last year as a part of the herd. Last
Very
few
cool.
months as a part of the herd.
Very cool.
Cool.
Mine as well. I'm hoping
Yeah.
for the best. I'm pushing everything I got to make it happen. It's just a matter of how long it will take because I won't stop. So
May is my deadline. So fingers crossed.
cool.
Thanks for listening.